Well, greetings. I thought I'd try something a little different this week to summarize the last four chapters in our textbook here and highlighted a couple of passages that I found interesting. I'm Jeff Schlaudecker, for those of you who I haven't met in person or beyond the written word. Starting off on chapter 5, talking about brain organization and learning. I did with a almost 3-year-old and almost 5-year-old enjoy reading through the spoken language development section and the implications for learning to read as well as learning second languages. Thought that was very interesting. Enjoyed the section on phonological and phonemic awareness, the fact that those were two different things in terms of recognition of sounds versus recognition of syllables, full words, and different spoken languages was also very interesting. Other skills involved in reading included the alphabetic principles, vocabulary fluency, and text comprehension. And I thought this was interesting to break down the learning to read as sections. The end of the chapter, they talked about teaching to the whole brain, and I thought this was a very interesting concept around if you're listing states on the board, putting them in an order of when they joined the Union, etc. I also thought that it was really interesting the sections they had on using multisensory approaches, always cleaning the board and starting each day with a clean sweep so that you haven't, so to speak, had unrelated verbal cues become awash in the previous day's learning. And I enjoyed also their discussion on concept mapping, which was a section that I've utilized in some discussions of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease where we had residents and write different things on the empty, clean whiteboard behind me in a little small teaching session that we did to discuss things. Chapter 6 talks about the brain and the arts and the importance for that. I did enjoy that a lot, and maybe at the end I'll showcase a little exercise we did where the residents summarized different blood transfusion reactions that they can have with pictorially driven posters that were designed to catch the attention of medical students or interns and guide them through things. We talked about the creation of music and piano and computer study groups, which I thought was also very interesting. How to incorporate the fact that physical exercise improves brain function, I think, also is an interesting part of Chapter 6. And I did discuss this with our residency committee who were putting together some guidelines for inpatient medicine, and wanted to make sure we incorporated the use of exercise on a most days of the week basis, even during busy rotations, because this is going to help their learning as well. In Chapter 7, we talked about thinking skills and learning, thinking and emotion, and I thought this was really interesting. The highlight was definitely thinking around the concepts that we teach organized through Bloom's hierarchy and his taxonomy. I enjoyed putting the session text together in the other part of this week's assignment, and I thought that was very interesting that there is a difference between complexity and difficulty, and you could have a very complex creation level task that had different levels of difficulty, and I thought that was very interesting. On the final chapter, Chapter 8, discussing putting it all together, I thought this was very interesting, especially the chart here on Table 8.1, which listed all the different methods of teaching that there are and that have been discussed in the book, from direct teaching to demonstration, concept, attainment, Socratic method, cooperative learning, stimulation and games, independent instruction, and drill and practice. And that it went through all of the different components of that. I thought that was a very useful chapter, and one that, or a very useful table, and one that I plan to incorporate in future teaching. Likewise, I thought Table 8.3, which was fairly lengthy, but it asked questions to be planned when teaching a lesson. This was really an excellent session as well, section of the book here, and I thought that this is something that's probably very useful to go through before any time I'm teaching a lesson and ask questions such as, what tactics am I helping students attach meaning to the learning? How will I use humor? Have I divided it into mini lessons of 20 minutes? Am I using prime times to their best advantage? Again, really just a great summary with these 21 questions to ask before teaching. Is just a great thing. One I'll make a photocopy of and probably hang prominently in my office so I don't make mistakes that I was before this chapter. So ultimately, summing up here my last minute, I think Table 8.3 is the best take-home portion of the last 4 chapters. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed all of you being a part of this class, and thanks for your attention to this video. Very quickly, we can take a quick look in my office here at the transfusion reaction posters that I was talking about. So here we see a transfusion-associated circulatory overload and the resident's pictorial representation of that. Down below that, acute transfusion, hemolytic transfusion reaction, febrile non-hemolytic transfusion reaction showed out down below. I'm not sure if these are coming out, but they're really pretty adorable. So anyway, it's been a great course again. I enjoyed working with all of you. Take care.